what we've noticed is guys that don't necessarily have more staff, pay their staff a little bit more, either they get a higher quality employee or they get a better motor. It's becoming a big expense to guys. Guys are looking for the best people that they can find. So they're scaling down in their staff numbers, but they're paying guys more to get a better quality person to go through. Winning percentage win as pregnant versus your return on asset. Last year there was a correlation on your extensive system. This year there was no very little correlation between the two. And then we go over to your semi-intensive systems. Remember, this is guys that are 80% of their herd are on pasture or stone for 5 months or more. So here we can see kgs feed purchase per LSU. If you feed out of the bag, there's a negative correlation between an asset. Winning rate has been a positive correlation. Kgs increase per breeding cow, positive correlation on your extensive systems to your return on asset. We specifically on the semi-intensive had quite a strong correlation, and then percentage wean as born alive. Here we can, sorry, I could see at the top there, there's wean as born alive. Yeah. Versus your RMA, there you can see the different correlations going through. Kgs feed purchase per hectare, there's quite a strong correlation between that and your profitability. So that's just the two specific graphs that I can show you there. The top 10%, how we calculate it in our study group is we calculate the top 10% based off of your net worth growth, profitability, but you have to, your net worth growth and positive ROA, so that's your return on asset, but you have to have a positive operational profit. So a lot of guys, what will happen there is you are growing a herd, so either buying in a lot of animals, so your net worth grows exponentially, but you're showing a loss at the end of the day. So then you can't be part of the top 10%. So our top 10% currently, their stats show that they've only weaned 68%. Mortality was lower than 4%. Livestock units per labour unit was 190 livestock units per labour unit and per hectare per year. So with us looking at this as well, the kgs per hectare increase per year for specifically the farmers outside of KZN. I haven't put this up too much because I feel that we don't have a strong enough database yet to measure them effectively. Because a lot of them, different areas here, for example, your stocking density in Derby will be completely different to the Midlands. So that will affect your kgs produced per hectare. So improvements from year to year that we've seen in our study group, you can see for, in general, guys that's joined the study group has improved dramatically from year on year. The reason based on this is I personally think, one, guys are expanding, so we're gaining in numbers, and two, guys are measuring what matters. They're not measuring things that have no bearing on their farm. They're looking at the figures of their farm and finding the things that matter for them on their farm, and they're starting to measure and manage those effectively. See, the interesting part is the kgs per hectare per year. Kgs increase per cow, kgs increase per hectare. There hasn't been a big increase, but there has been quite an increase slowly. That's something that builds over time, and it's also the measuring of things properly and effectively. In the next few slides, we're going to be looking at our study group in comparative to the Boran farmers that's been on the study group as a whole. We're comparing the two with each other. I just want to reiterate in this specific space, we do not compare breeds. We're not so strict on breeds, we compare farmers. The interesting part was with the farmers that currently farm with the Boran breed has a progressive mindset, different mindset to a lot of other breeders, and you'll see that going through as well with the results coming through. Your physical herd performances.
Johannes?
Yes.
Kan jy net vir ons sê ek al kom met hoeveel beter is in die goed? En jy kan nie goed van die
Boran beeste of 92.000 koeie. So ons het ek het daai sterk nou, so dit is 'n wesenlike groepie boere. Dis nie, ek dink ons 12 miljoen beeste in Suid-Afrika, heiliglik. Totaal, ek kan nie vir presies sê hoeveel koeie daar is nie, maar ons het 'n wesenlike groep. Ons het dit heel aan die begin gecover. As ons hier kyk na ons raad,
hoeveel Boran is daar in die
ek kan nie vir jou presies sê nie. Ek kan nie presies vir jou die syfers sê nie. Ek sal dit vir jou kan soek na die tyd as jy dan. Ek het dit nie nou.
Wat is ek hier kan ek daar kom?
Yes.
Alhoewel ek kan net vir jou byvoeg. Onthou so sê maar soos ons kudde wat 75-80% kommersieel is en die res stoet, hanteer hulle industrieel daarso dat die Boran kuddes wat goed gedoen het, is almal hier by 1000 koeie plus op die ou se plaas.
Ja.
En so dis net klein gekonstrueerde stoetboerdery nie. It's a big commercial operation that's part of the analysis. So ek dink dis nogal belangrik om dit te weet, want bankliker nou dink jy het 50 stoetbeeste en hy kry premies op dit en dit trek al skeef. Ek dink die Boran wat betrokke is, die meeste van hulle groot kommersiële komponente, daar's van hulle wat suiwer kommersieel is.
Ja. So on average, just to go back to the averages of the study group, on average, the average farm size in the study group is about 1,000 acres. So it changes and it varies, but it is commercial guys going on it. I think the average large stock units I'm talking under correction, it's between 600 and 800 large stock units per farmer if you average it out through this. Like Francois said as well, the biggest or the commercial Boran farmers that's done well, the farmers that's done well under the association, the small stud guys actually didn't do well in comparison to the rest. The small concentrated stud farmers actually didn't do well. The guys that did exceptional commercial Boran farmers, to put it into context as well, in our top 10 or top 5, there was 3 Boran farmers currently. So they have come in, and all 3 of them were commercial farmers. They weren't purely stud, they were commercial farmers as well. Although the stud has played a big contribution into their operating profit and their return on asset because of the prices that they've been getting this year and in the past few years, they still would have been, if you take that away and put them on an average scale, they still would have been in the top 10. So that is something to bear in mind as well. So if you can have a look here, in terms of the fertility, the Boran as a whole, between pregnancy, calving and wean, is the only thing, calving section, where they're behind your sort of extensive group, but as in terms of pregnancies, for getting into calves, they're the top of the group there, and wean, they're also on par with they're above the semi-intensive and above, quite far above the intensive guys. They're still stuck behind the extensive farmers a little bit. The wean data, as we can see here, sorry, I just want to write these down here. The wean data, your wean is bred, your Boran is still behind the extensive with the extensive there 73%, the Boran's at 70%. Your wean is pregnant, you'll see there they're 86, which is probably one of their strongest attributes, and also their wean is born alive. They're far ahead of everything else. So this just attests to what they've been marketing, the mothering ability of the breed. And also remember, the Boran the guys have been going through this. There's a varying between extensive and semi-intensive farmers. It's not that they're only semi-intensive or only extensive. You'll see later on in the slides as well, they actually farm in areas where they're quite a bit lower stock. So this has been very, very interesting to see for us. The weaner info, the average weaning weights, they are below the semi-intensive guys. The semi-intensive guys are 209, extensive is 207. Our top 10% farmers is at 200 kgs at weaning weight. And then the Boran is at 205 on average. Then the weaning age, semi-intensive guys is 219 days, extensive is 210, weans a little bit earlier. Our top 10% is weaning at 220 days, and the Boran weans on average 219 days. But with that being said as well, there are extremes. in the study group as well, there are farmers that actually don't physically wean their calves off. They leave their calves with the mother, and the mother weans it off automatically. So there we've worked on a corrected diet and a corrected weight, which they submit to logics, or we've worked on an average. So the weaning weight or weaning kgs to mature cow is something that we often measure in terms of an efficient mother. This is worked to a 205 weaning weight, the weaning day. And you can see here, the Boran far outseeds everyone else with an average of 49%, and the rest is running between 43 and 45%. So this is something that we've seen. Also, the Boran cows are a little bit smaller from what we've seen in terms of their size and their mothering ability. This is also a very, very good point for us to see, is the large stock units per labour unit. This gives us an indication of the effective management of the animals, the needing to manage animals more. If you need to manage animals more often, you usually stock or have more stockmen. So if you bring animals in to dip 3-4 times a month, you will have more stockmen than when you're not needing to do that. This just indicates to us, gives us a very quick indication of the ability of animals to manage ease of management in animals, and the ability to manage them a little bit more extensively with less care. So here's something that I put in to explain the test per large stock unit that we have. Your semi-intensive guys is sitting at about 2.3. Your extensive guys are sitting at 1.7, which was quite interesting in terms of top 10% is sitting just below 2, and the Boran is sitting at 3.1, I think, in terms of the stocking rate, the hectares available to per large stock unit. This varies from area to area exponentially. Like we have guys hectares per large stock unit, and then we've got guys in kgs. This varies dramatically, and the kgs increase per hectare will vary in that space as well.
Wallace, can you just quickly explain then, if you say large stock unit, exactly what you mean and the way you convert the entire herd to that unit?
Okay, so a large stock unit is worked back to 450 kgs. So how we work that out is we take your opening stock and closing stock with a weight attributed to that. We count it back to large stock units that you have on the farm, so everyone gets measured on the same weight. You get measured on a large stock unit of 450 cows, not heads. So if you run an oxen system or a cow and calf system, you get measured under the same average of 450 kilos is a large stock unit. Any questions? This is for me, I didn't include the kgs increase per hectare because of the reasons that I've explained before. So what I have included here is kgs weaned per cow in more extensive systems and lower measure every large stock unit and every cow, the productive cow that's on the farm. You have a measuring stick that you can use that regardless of what the system is and the extent of the system. So you can see here the Boran sitting at 200, I think it's 279. Our top, the extensive system is 164, I think, 62, and then your semi-intensive system is quite low. And this is the economic side of things. Just the interesting thing that we bring in here is what the distribution is of income for our study group versus the Boran guys, in terms of for every rand you get brought in, where did it come from, more or less. So you can see most of our guys are commercial guys, with 35% coming from weaners, and oxen, the majority coming from weaners and oxen and cull cows. Then if we go to the Boran breeders specifically, and I think they've been very smart in capitalizing in this system. Majority of their income has come from selling breeding cows. There's a huge demand for it. Why not capitalize on it? That was actually quite smart, and they are capitalizing on it well with oxen and weaners making up 28% of their or 29% of their income, but having a fair distribution throughout as well. So just another interesting thing. So these prices are for the last calving season, the last weaning season. It won't be for this one. We'll only get this in the new benchmarking season. The average price on the study group for a Boran breeding cow was 43, just over 43, almost 44,000 rand. Pregnant heifer was 37, with an average of 72. This is commercial and stud animals combined. This is an average throughout the group. The interesting part for me was the weaner price per kg. Our average through the group was 37 rand 20. That was the average through the group. That was for the average was 37 rand 48. No, they don't. The Boran doesn't sell in your commercial feedlots. They don't have a market. They're battling to get rid of them. But the guys that have them, that has been a little bit smarter with it, that's looked for a market, is actually only taken a 20-cent knock on the price. But you understand that there's certain areas in South Africa just taking that little bit of an effort to find the market in any breed that you have or any animal that you have, that is wise to do, to go take as well. If we go to the study group's expenses per large stock unit, so this is per large stock unit that you have on the farm, your expenses. Yeah, you can see the maintenance, diesel, fuels and oils. There are different ones, but these are the ones that we've seen sort of gives us an indication the best as to where your expenses will lie throughout your cycle. You can see here payroll expenses has been very, very high, even in our top 10%, and that equates to our thinking of paying guys a little bit more and getting a better guy, a better employee, or a happier employee that will look after you a little bit, either because of irrigation through winter feed that they're doing, or for various other reasons, but predominantly it's over irrigation that they've done on winter feed. Diesel fuels and oils, you can see here 10% of the Boran Association of the Boran breeders fairly accurate or fairly close to one another then. But in general, the expenses per large stock unit on the Boran comparative to the rest of the system is quite low. This is where the interesting part came in that I did not expect for one, and I don't think anyone else expected that. We can see here we divide the feed cost into roughage and lick. This is all feeds that are bought out of the bag, that are mixed into licks and fed out. Then homegrown feeds are all your pasture-based feeds to start over, um, and bales that are made at home and silage that is made at home and fed at home. If you can have a look here at the top 10%, this is actually quite worrying. So we try and, if a guy's on the study group, we measure it over years, so it keeps growing. So it's not, he does very well, nothing next year. So we try and mitigate it as much as possible to keep growing as well as you are operating properly. But that's how our 10% is
because if you look at that, it seems like it's negatively correlated, right? So the top 10% has got the highest cost.
Yes.
And for me as an extensive cattle rancher, I mean, if I've got close to, I can't really see there, 9,000 rand,
Yeah, it's 8,800
rand to a livestock unit, I'll go back up.
Yes. So this is something that but you'll see now if I go to there's a break-even point that we calculate at the end of the year. The guys that sit here, fortunately for them, they were able to get the prices that they needed to break even and to make money on it. The challenge that we have is because it was within the study group as well, made the profits because of the prices that they got for their female breeding animals, which made a huge contribution to that. So that's on the study breeding side. The commercial breeding side are the guys that got premiums for the animals that could get that got the 44 rand a kilo that they need to make money. But you'll see that make it. I'll show you on the next slide here. You'll see on the whole, your operating profit and return on asset, your net worth growth is there, but your money in the bank at the end of the day is in a negative system. So the guys, and it's only the top 10% that we equate into that. If you look on the average of the study group as a whole, the guys that spent that also spent that amount and didn't have the market set there. So that's where we always have those elements. You always have a guy that gets a bit of luck. One of the guys that we had in the study group brought a lot of female animals, and green is verified, and the process from our side happens as an internal audit, and then we send it off to an auditor in New Zealand that checks it as an independent body.
Great, thanks.
So on the break-even points here, we can see the average right on the semi-intensive average cow expense was 8,833 rand. The weaning weight was 202. So the minimum market price that they needed to get to make a profit was 41 rand. Others were even worse. They were 44 rand. So, a cow that they must have spent, but this is where the currency of progressive thinkers, extensive guys, trying to keep their costs as low as possible. You can see here their cost is 5,000 rand on average a breeding cow. The weaning percentage is 70%. The weaning weight was 205 rand. For them to break even, they only needed to get 28 rand 47. So this is specifically based on the Boran guide. To put it into context, I've got a guy that spends 800 rand a kilo that he produces on his farm, and then I've got a guy who spends 9 rand. So it varies from system to system. Ideally, you want to produce an animal at a lower cost, as low cost as possible. Certain systems don't lend itself well to that. If you're running a pasture-based intensive system, it's going to be really hard to run a low-cost system amount on an animal as a problem. He's on a hiding nothing. A lot of the guys getting premiums for certain breeds and stuff. Vast majority of them that we start off commercial, we are based on this. Last 28 to 30 rand for they got these guys that got the guys this year, from what we've seen, will make about 2 rand profit per kilo that they produce, which is very, very slim margin. So I'm at the end of my presentation. I just want to leave you with a few questions. We measure what matters. I do see a lot of guys, and they can all show you what their bulls' EBDs are. Not that EBDs don't matter, but they can't show you how many kgs they produce off of their farm. They forget that. And that's ultimately what pays us. Do we measure what matters? Are we farming for sentiment or for long-term profitability? This is something that we saw in the dairy industry years ago. Are we farming with dairy because it's a sentimental thing? Those guys, vast majority of them, enterprises diminish quickly. Are you following a trend, or are you following your farm? That's something that I try and speak to farmers about. If you farm in the mountains, an oxen system will lend itself much better to your farm than a cow and calf system. He's got one there where he's right in the mountains there. So oxen system versus your cow and calf system. Look at a breed that adapts to your farm. Don't look at a breed that the market wants. Look at something that works for your farm, that will look after your bank account and won't necessarily look after the feedlot's bank account. Are you driving for sustainable beef production, or are you just driving because it's fun? What is your motivation behind it? If you're a weekend farmer and you have enough money out of everything else, that's fine, go for it. But if you want to drive a farm profitably, measure the right thing. And don't buy into trends if it doesn't fit on your farm. Thank you very much.